Hello and welcome everyone, it's Karen. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to revisit this card. It's an inside shadow box card or an inside tunnel card. And I really enjoy that style of card, but with this one, it always bothered me that I couldn't open the card up fully and that all the work was on the inside and you couldn't see it very well. So I have come up with this template. There's a few differences. It's a bit wider, as you can see. The first card folds down to be a true A2 size card, so 4¼ by 5½. This one is 5½ inches, and I think that's another ½ inch on the side. So you would need a slightly larger envelope. But I really liked that you can see the tunnel effect on the front of the card. So I've come up with a template, and I think maybe just take a screenshot of this so that you've got the dimensions, and I will go through this with you. So I've started, this is my card base, and I did color up the front of this. Now that is the card front. I've used the cracked stencil, and these are the Catherine Pooler inks in Chiffon, Tiara, Sauna, and Mandarin Spice. And on the front of that, I've used the cracked stencil with some Cosmic Shimmer Glossy Glaze in Daydream Yellow, and it gives a really fun plasticky kind of a texture to it. So on the card front, I'm scoring at ½ inch and 1¼ inches, and I just rotate that and do the same thing on the other side. Now you can see I haven't, on those outside tabs, I haven't put the cracked stencil on those parts. I masked that off because you're going to glue that part down or use adhesive tape, and I wanted it to stick. Now on the inserts, I'm scoring at ¼ inch in on both edges. And for this one, I'm using the Splat nesting dies. So I've got the largest one centered now in the middle of that card front. And I'm folding over the edges here. I've run it through and die cut it. And now I'm just folding into mountain folds both of these two side flaps. And in order to get the second die in the right place, I'm lining up those score lines on the card insert, or the first insert, and I'm just centering that die inside the opening I've already created. And I just did the same thing with the next insert, centered that inside, and die cut that out. Now, on this card, I am cutting out the front of the card base. You don't have to do this, but I thought I would put it in just to show you what the effect is. So here I've put double-sided adhesive tape on those side flaps on both the inserts, and I'm just folding them over into a mountain fold and burnishing them. And I've put some double-sided tape on the side flaps of the card front. And I'm lining everything up. I just wanted to make sure I had my splats going the right way. And so now to put this together, I've taken the release paper off the card front on that one flap, and I'm butting them up side by side, just trying to make sure that the tops and the bottoms are centered and that it's pushed together. And then you just fold that flap up and over and it will go in the right spot. So then to do these inserts, I'm flattening out that left side, and it will go right against that first score line that we've made. That's the side wall, so you want it to butt right up to that crease. I've got the release paper off, and I'm just lining up the top and the bottom there. And then you just fold that side wall up and over to catch that adhesive tape and press it down just to make sure it's really caught. And then you can fold it back and push it down again and just make sure it's all attached in there. And then that second insert, again the same thing, just make sure your splats are going the right way if you're using the splat dies. And then I've taken the release paper off again, and I'm lining it up against that fold line and just holding it in place and pushing that side wall up and over it. And making sure it's caught on the adhesive. And then you should have two evenly spaced inserts on that. So now I'm flattening down that right side. I've taken the release paper off, and I'm holding the bottom down flat. So you want that side wall at the bottom to be flat. Just fold everything up and over and catch that adhesive. Now to do this last join here, I'm folding that flap down at the top, taking the release paper off, and then you want to just fold up that card front and line it up with that crease that you've created where there is no more of that cracked stencil right there. So you should have a fairly evenly spaced card front. And I just like to fold these back and forth sideways a little bit just to let it fold a little more easily. Now you can see right through to the front, to the center of the card with this. And I've chosen to use these Summer Picnic die cuts. These are so easy to use. I've glued these all in. I've just tried to make layers of flowers going through. There's that little bunny at the very back there. And when you open the card, that's where the bunny is. So I've put a few butterflies on as well. There's one that's on acetate, and it's just kind of a fun card. Now for this card, I've used the Big Drop stencil and some Nuvo Glimmer paste in Moonstone. And I wanted to use these lots of rectangles frames. Now, I love these frames. They cut out that frame, but they also cut the center out. So in order to use the frame, you don't want to use the die right there. So I'm taking the insert that it cuts out, tracing around that on the back. I just made sure it was centered. And I just used my craft knife to cut this out. And then I centered it over the insert, and I've got the smaller opening, or the smaller white center, and I'm tracing around that and again cutting that one out. And that allowed me to put the frames back on the front of the inside, and again here I'm going to put the frame on the front, on the card front. So I've got my double-sided adhesive now on those flaps, and I'm folding and burnishing those fold lines into a mountain fold. And you get this sort of squared off card front. So this is my card base. Now with this one, I'm just going to attach that on. I wasn't sure if this Big Drops stencil had an actual up and down, but I just put it this way. I'm taking that release paper off and then butting these up again and just making sure the top and the bottom are lined up, and then holding everything in place and just folding that flap over and pushing it down so it seals onto the card base. And again, here's the insert. Now with this one, I've only chosen to use one insert, and I'm lining it up again with that first fold line, which is going to be the side wall of the card. So that's the line that you want to line the insert up with. So I'm going to flatten out that insert, hold it up against that crease, and just fold that side wall over and press it down so you pick up the adhesive. Now on this one, I did not cut through to the center. Oh yeah, and I'm burnishing this one again. So I had that sitting on my desk, that piece I had cut out, and I just thought I would put that in for the center instead of having a white center. So in order to do that, I've put glue on the back of it. I'm centering it over the insert piece and just sticking it onto the card base, just so it would be centered in that window. So again, I'm going to straighten out that right hand fold line, take the release paper off, and at the bottom there I'm going to hold that down flat, and I folded it along that crease line at the bottom. So I'm keeping it down flat with the heel of my hand, making sure the sides are lined up, and then you can just let that go and it will pick up that adhesive right along that other side wall, the top side wall. And that should give you that nice box shape again. So now I've got the top side wall folded down flat. I've taken the release paper off, and I'm just folding up this card front to meet that crease line that we've got right there where the stenciling ends. And then I'm just sort of pressing that adhesive down just to make sure that it's well caught and it won't come loose. And that's this card basically. So on this one, I've only used the one insert, and I did not cut through to the middle of this one. I've used the Violet Garden die cuts for this, and the Little Bird Builder Duo is that little bird that's flying around. I've put a little die cut on the inside of this one, and as you can see, they stand up really well. So just to show you, I've done another one here with the nesting oval dies, and I've used the Dear Isabella paper. That topper is in the background for this one, and I've cut out some of those butterflies, put them up on acetate, and I've just tucked them in and out, coming out of different areas of that card front. Now, because I had those center ovals cut out and I thought they were really quite pretty, I didn't want to waste those, so I've put this in as a bonus card for you. I'm just gluing them together. I did put some foam behind that top one just to give it some dimension. And I'm using the Butterfly Card Creator butterfly here. I've just cut it out of the border. And I wanted to put some acetate, alcohol inked acetate wings or acetate in behind the wings. So to do that, I've put one of those die cuts down and I've put my acetate over top, and then I know where to put the alcohol inks and I'm not wasting too much of it. So I'm just spreading that around, and once it's dry, I've glued that butterfly and I'm gluing it right onto the acetate now. And then I just trim that around. I'm not even worrying about the body. I just leave that right out and I just trim around those wings. Sort of, I have my scissors at a little bit of an angle with that. And then I'm folding the body back or the wings up, and all I do is glue these bodies and antenna together. And that will give you a really pretty butterfly with a bit of dimension. I've only colored put the acetate behind the one wing. The other one's going to be down on top of that center bit. Now here I've used the Dear Isabella papers, and I did leave a border, a white border around that. So I've cut out another white oval, and I'm just going to glue these center ones over that just to give it a bit of a frame. And I didn't want to cover up all those beautiful flowers, so I'm offsetting this oval. It's coming off the right-hand edge of my card. And in order to do that, I've got it centered where I want it. I'm just making little marks on the back. I sort of held it together and flipped it over. And then I know to put glue between those lines and just on that right-hand side. And then when I go to put this on, I'm realizing I don't know where those marks are. So I had to flip it back over and put it back on roughly where the pencil marks were. I'm hiding the pencil marks actually. And because it's glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room. So I've glued that butterfly on, the hello, and a few little leaves. And then I cut these flowers out from that paper. It was on, it was on this page of paper, and some of those butterflies came from there. I've tucked them in around. And that was my little bonus card for you. So thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope I've given you some ideas today. Have a great day.